Hello Internet, welcome to my first vlog. Today's the first day of the reading rush for 2020. Starts on July 20th, so you should be seeing this hopefully on July 21st if I post it on time. Maybe, luckily, I might post it tonight, but I'm not gonna promise anything. We'll see how this goes. This might turn into a weekly vlog if I suck at trying to edit this together. I've never done a video like that before. So if you're new to my channel, my name is Anna. My TBR is already posted if you're curious as to what books I'm gonna try to read. But this is my first day having to go into work for a while. I'm a teacher, so I have to go in and pick up my keys, see what my classroom looks like. I know they rented it out during the summer, so I tried to put everything away and lock everything up so nothing would be damaged or anything like that. So just see where my furniture is because they might have moved it in and out of my classroom, see what I have to do before I officially go back. So we're gonna be doing distance learning for a while. So it's not a big issue to make sure everything's perfect right away, but I wanna know what I'm up against, especially since I am, today is the last day of my 21st week of pregnancy and I can't move anything by myself. So you're gonna come along with me on a couple of things I have to do, but the first thing is I have to drive into town. And so I'm going to be listening to my first audiobook, which is Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman. That was the only book I allowed myself to buy for the readathon, and I used a credit for it, so I don't know if that really counts, but I mean, I did pay for that credit, so yeah. So I'll see you guys in a little bit. All right, so the dog is kenneled, the cats are out roaming around the entire house, and I am ready to go. So if you missed the TBR, Practical Magic is the book that fulfills the challenge, and I'm not sure what number it is, but it's the challenge that you read a book that inspired a movie you've already seen. So I have seen Practical Magic more times than I know over the last 20 years or so, because I think it came out in '98. I've never read the book. I've never even seen the book in person to be able to buy it in a store. So I'm going to listen to the audiobook, like I said earlier. And I just walked outside and it is beautiful. I live in Arizona. It is very hot here. 116 degrees has been a trending temperature for the last few days. Yesterday was nice. Today looks really nice. When I get home, I think I might put a break on Practical Magic and not do chores and just go sit outside and read the book that I plan to read completely outside of my house, because I don't know if it's going to be this nice the rest of the week. It might even rain. We have so many clouds, so I don't know. We'll see. I'm kind of excited about this. So I'll be reading Super Mutant Magic Academy later today, unless something drastically changes and it gets super hot. All right. Okay, so I've been listening to the audiobook on the way into town, and they've been talking about the lore and mythology of the Owens women, and everything that they've mentioned so far in this prelude to the book is very similar to the movie. The movie condenses it into almost a montage of what it was like when they were children, but everything sounds pretty much the same. The only discrepancy I've noticed so far is that Jillian is blonde in the book, where she's a redhead in the movie. I actually prefer her to be a redhead. Maybe it's just because I saw the movie first and I've seen it so many times. But it could also be that correlation between redheads and witches, and how that goes along with the theme of Practical Magic makes a little bit more sense than her being blonde. But obviously your hair color really doesn't mean that much, so it's just a small detail, and when you're reading a book you're not really thinking about that anyway. But yeah, so far it's very similar to the movie. I also went in to pick up my keys. I filmed both of these segments earlier and then realized I had my air conditioning on in my car, and that was an annoying background noise, so I'm refilming it. But I went into campus to get my keys. I couldn't see my classroom, so I really don't know what my furniture looks like right now. But it turns out that the camp that was renting my room for the summer is still renting it until Friday. And I won't be able to get into my classroom until this weekend, which I probably won't do because the air conditioning won't be on during the weekend. So I'll probably stop by on Monday and see what everything looks like and what I need to move around. If you're wondering, why on earth would anybody be renting a classroom right now during a pandemic. They're running a day camp for children and students of essential workers. So if you're like a police officer, a firefighter, EMT, nurse, doctor, anything that's considered an essential worker, those people who never got a chance to go work from home and had to go to work every day and then didn't have any childcare options because a lot of childcare in our area closed during the summer and closed because of the pandemic. They had this option at my school. And normally they wouldn't even be on my campus, but because of the pandemic, they had to spread out over multiple campuses to keep the sizes of the kids, like the class sizes, to be really small. I want to say they only let like 8 kids in a classroom at any given time in order to maintain social distancing. So, yeah. Otherwise, I wouldn't even have to worry about this. And I'd be in my classroom, you know, decorating it for distance learning, because we're going to be distance learning for a while, but sometimes I'll have to be on campus doing the distance learning. So I want to have like a background and all the things ready. So anyway, so that's the sitch there. So I will see what it looks like on Monday, but no go today. What it looks like when you go to drop stuff off at your mom's house. I actually had to drive all the way home at one point because I forgot my mask. And I'm like, how am I going to get anywhere today if I don't have a mask? Luckily, I didn't get very far from my house before I realized I was missing it and had to turn around. But it is what it is, I guess. All right, guys, as you just saw, I stopped by my mom's house. I went to go drop off a Blu-ray for her to watch. She's been binge watching Veronica Mars on Hulu, and either the movie's no longer on Hulu or you have to pay to rent it or buy it in order to watch it on Hulu. So I lent her my Blu-ray and I stopped by to give her that. So now she can watch that and then finish season 4. So she's rewatching it and really enjoying it. She was so excited when I dropped that by her place. So now that I'm done with that, I have to go pick up my groceries because I'm going to be making a smoothie. So I believe the first video challenge for the Reading Rush is to make a cup of tea or coffee, because that's something that people do a lot in vlogs anyway. I'm pregnant, so I'm not drinking anything with caffeine, and I don't want to do decaf. And I have heard from multiple people that there are certain herbal teas that have no caffeine and are safe to drink during pregnancy, but I am way too nervous to try to figure out which is the right one and then purchase it and not make a mistake. Like, my fear is that maybe it's right, but then I'll buy the wrong one, or that I'll be told it's right and then find out later that it's not safe. So so I'm gonna still make a beverage since that's part of the challenge, but I'm just gonna make a completely different beverage. So I'm gonna make a smoothie. I will probably have it for lunch because I already finished my leftover burrito bowl for breakfast today. I didn't want to make any more dirty dishes, and I didn't finish my dinner last night, so I ate that for breakfast. So I'll probably have the smoothie for lunch, but yeah. So I'm gonna go get groceries and then headed home, and then you'll probably catch me reading in my backyard if it is still this nice when I get home. All right, guys, so we made it home, just reading in the backyard. I'm reading my outdoor read, which is the Super Mutant Magic Academy. Me and Oliver, my dog, are outside, and it's getting a little warm, but it's still not that bad, especially for like desert temperatures. So we're gonna go inside in a little bit and make that smoothie for lunch. But so far, I was completely right about this book. It's not a fluid story. It's like each page is a different like short comic. So it feels kind of like if someone took a compilation of newspaper comics and put it together in a book. Like when I was a kid, I used to read like the Garfield comics that way. So it's very similar to that, except obviously a completely different vibe than Garfield. But I'm liking it so far. It's not as enjoyable as I thought it was going to be, but maybe I just need to read more pages to win me over, because I'm really not that far along. I'm only on page 16 because I got interrupted with a phone call from my husband. So let's see if Oliver wants to say hi. Oliver, can you say hi to the camera? Hello? So the smoothie was really simple, nothing major. It's just raspberries, strawberries, blueberries, and coconut milk. Nothing fancy at all. I rinsed off the fruit and then put it in the freezer while I did all of these dishes over here. So they were slightly frozen when I blended them, but not like a slushy, but it still tastes good. And I used my little Ninja smoothie blender that I got as an engagement gift from my parents. My husband is a big fan of this thing, so use it quite regularly. Okay, so I made myself some lunch. It's just a cup of potato soup to go with my smoothie. Just making it really easy on myself. I don't want to cook anything like major right now. So I've been listening to the book the whole time that I was cooking and cleaning, and I had to go back and check the chapters because I was like really confused at why this prelude was taking so long. And it turns out the book is split into like 4 sections. So I'm still in the superstitions section. And it's very, very close to the movie so far. But another discrepancy that's kind of bugging me is Sally's daughters, they flip-flopped their names in the movie. I don't know why they would do that, why they wouldn't just keep them the same. They still made the older daughter like have the same, because like if you watch the movie, the Sally's older daughter kind of looks like her sister Jillian, and and then like her younger daughter favors Sally. So they're still like, they look the same, but they flip-flop their names. So I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in the movie, the youngest daughter is Antonia. But for some reason, the oldest daughter is Antonia in the book. And I don't know why the movie would do that. It makes no sense. They should have kept their names the same. So that's weird. I'm actually, because of this, and there's a couple other things that I could say are different, but those would be spoilers, where I feel like flip-flopping the daughter's names and the color of Jillian's hair really isn't a spoiler. I'm thinking that after the reading rush is over, I might actually make a video about like the difference between the book and the movie. That might be interesting. I don't know who it would be interesting for. It'd be interesting for me. But yeah, so it's good so far. I'm going to continue listening to it while I eat. And then once I'm done eating, if it's still cool outside, I'll go back outside and read the Super Mutant Magic Academy. If not, I think I might dig into one of my physical books. So that's either going to be Animal Farm or the Bobbsey Twins. So. All right, I'm back. Obviously, I ate my lunch. I've been listening to Practical Magic this whole time. And then I realized that there's an Instagram challenge that I need to think about. So I looked it up, and it's posted on Instagram, but I also have it in my book here, and it's recreate a book cover. And it does not have to be a book that's already on your TBR for this week. It can be any book you want, which is good because all of the covers that I had to work with were either already done by somebody or, and I mean like recently already done by somebody, like it was at the pretty like beginning of the tag on Instagram. So the one I picked may have been done by someone, I'm sure it was. So I'm not saying it's completely original, but it had already been done by someone recently, or just wasn't doable with what I had available at home. And obviously I'm not going to go back into town. I wasn't really thinking about this challenge when I was in town today, so I didn't like order anything that could work for this. So as you can see here, this is the challenge that we're working on right now. And the book I picked was Wintertown. And this is what I created with a bath towel and some paper. And this is like thicker paper that you would use for the back of a comic book. This is just something I had lying around the house and I chopped it up. I wish you could tell really, like when you look in here, you can tell that this was hole punched. And like, I didn't have a hole puncher at home. I have one in my office, but as I said earlier, I couldn't get into my classroom today, so no hole puncher at home, so I went with squares. But I'm going to post this on Instagram and call it a check mark, so. Oh, so the last thing I wanted to add before I moved on is I actually haven't read that book. So I've had it on my shelf for quite a while. I want to say it was recommended by Ariel Bassett like a long time ago. I feel like that's how I heard about that book. I bought it, obviously, but I haven't read it. So if it's a terrible book, I'm sorry. I just picked one with a cover I thought I could recreate. Okay, checking in again. So I've played Animal Crossing and did the cleaning I needed to get done. I listened to the audiobook while I did that. So I'm probably on like the third part of Practical Magic. And so I've made a lot of progress there. I did go back outside at a certain point and I read more of Super Mutant Magic Academy. And I will say this about that book. The more you read it, the more you get to know the characters, because they are reoccurring characters. Even though each page is a different tiny story, they reuse the same characters over and over again. And the longer you read it, the more you get to know them, the more you enjoy it. So it is becoming more enjoyable. And maybe by the end of it, I will like it, but I'm not sure. It took me a little while to get into it. So I am up to page like 76 or 75 or something like that. And then the heat started to get to me, even though it's really not that bad in comparison to the normal heat out here. But even like on our cooler days, it's still hot. So I came inside, did some more stuff, listened to Practical Magic. That book is good, but similar enough to the movie that I'm glad I'm listening to the audiobook. Because if I was reading it with my eyeballs, I'd be bored by now. There are plenty of differences, and I still think I want to make that video talking about the differences. But I obviously don't want to talk about them here because I feel like certain things that I could say would be spoilers and then you wouldn't enjoy the book as much. But I am enjoying it enough I'm definitely going to finish it. There's no way I'm not going to finish that one. So my husband just called to let me know what was going on at work today for him. And I need to go start dinner. So I'll do that. And then I also got an email from my boss that we're going to have a virtual meeting tomorrow. So I need to make sure I'm prepared for that as well. But that's about it. I just need to go, well, the dog has went out, but I need to go start rounding up the animals and get them all fed for dinner. So, I don't know if I've talked about this, but I have 2 cats and 1 dog. The first cat is Katniss. She's 8 years old. She's half Siamese, half like gray tabby, or at least that's what her parents were, was a Siamese and a gray tabby. And so she kind of looks like a coyote, like a gray coyote. And her color pattern is called a Duluth. But she's just basically a domestic short hair that's half Siamese. So she's like a little thinner and like more wiry of a cat because her dad was a Siamese. And she's like, it's a good thing I called her Katniss because she is like the rebel leader of this household. And then there's Storm, which was my husband's cat before we got married. And she's just like a black domestic short hair. She's like completely black except for like, if you look really closely, you think that she has a bald spot on her side and it's really just a tiny bit of white hair. She's like super, super sweet and shy. She's like well, I shouldn't say we. I didn't save her. My husband saved her from a shelter. And you can tell that she didn't have a very good home to start off with because her tail has been broken in 2 spots. And whoever her previous owner was, it looks like they never got the tail like set back into place. I really don't know if that's possible, but like she's got a crooked tail. So something happened to her in her previous life before she got adopted. And she's like 5. Well, no, she would have just turned 6 earlier this month, or at least her adoption birthday. We consider the 4th of July her adoption birthday. Katniss I've had since she was 6 weeks old because this gal basically had 2 cats and then they got pregnant and then she needed to find homes for them. So I technically adopted her, but she's not from a shelter. Storm's from a shelter. And then we have a 5-year-old, he's going to be 6 soon, Australian Shepherd named Oliver. And we adopted him just like, I want to say like in January, February, like right after we got married. And he used to belong to a gentleman in the Air Force who was getting stationed somewhere else, couldn't take his dog with him. So we adopted him, so he has a new home here. And yeah, that's about it. So they all need to have dinner soon. So anyway, talk to you guys later. All right, so we're having a sushi bowl tonight. I'm not sure if I did the rice correctly, but we'll see. I've got all the ingredients over here, and I'm just gonna put it together. All right, there we go. Completely ready to eat. It looks good to me. I got some extra avocado. Probably gonna throw that in there. Doesn't need it, but I'm gonna eat it.